What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Bitchuation room with a very special guest, Emma Vigeland, here in studio. Emma, how are you?
I am doing well. Sorry, we're a little behind. We were having girl talk.
We were having girl talk. We broke out the board game.
Mm-hmm.
Did you play? I feel like you're of the age where you played that board game.
Girl talk?
Girl talk.
You underestimate how much of a tomboy I was. I wouldn't play with Barbies. I was playing with swords.
So you're saying you're legitimately into sports? It's not just to like please the man you love?
Yeah. I mean,
that's embarrassing.
It is totally humiliating. I'm just kidding. It's actually, yeah, I'm doing it like for my own enjoyment and not to please a man. What kind of woman does that?
Obviously, it's good if it's genuine. I am someone who's only been into sports because of the people I date. I'm like, okay, I'll get into this sport, and you find a hot person.
But guys don't really like girls that are really into sports the way I am. Like a lot of guys
they'll be like, cool.
Yeah, no, they want you to like that they're into sports and also wear like a football jersey with no pants. That's basically what actually men want.
The extent of them wanting you to be into sports.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, not all men. My husband is just like an evolved.
He's perfect
man.
And wonderful and evolved.
Yeah.
And shout out to, I don't know if we were supposed to say his name.
No.
We don't say his name.
I don't, please. Yeah,
but
very private about that stuff. But you put your relationship on blast.
Who am I married? Am I? Yeah, no, I have there's this comedian I used to do, by the way, everyone, I used to live in Argentina. Everyone must know I used to do stand up there, and this comedian who's very well known, Melena Pichot, has a great joke about women who are into sports. She's like, and in Spanish, is "estás para más," like you were meant for more. Like, why are you into this? You were meant for more.
Yeah.
And I think about that a lot. But however, when it comes from a genuine place, how are the Jets?
Giants.
Giants.
It's not going great. They're 2-8 and just fired their head coach. So no, I don't feel the need to talk about this. The Knicks sustain me as like my only team that seems to be doing okay.
Basketball happen?
It's already started.
Okay.
Yeah. But don't worry, you don't really have to care until like May when the playoffs happen.
Okay, I will make sure to start caring in May.
Yes.
At which point I probably won't care. Emma Vigeland of the Majority Report. So good to have you here on the other coast, over here in LA, in my home studio, doing literally all the podcast rounds.
I'm trying. I feel like I told you this earlier, but I kind of had this New Year's resolution. It's a little corny, but when Trump got elected, I was like, what am I going to be doing for the next year? I'm going to just say yes to everything and try to get the left-wing message out there as much as possible. And once I started getting invited on shows, then it was easier to get invited on other shows. And I just start to say yes. I've never worked harder in my life, like ever. This is technically a vacation for me.
I was going to say, like, aren't you visiting family and stuff?
But I did. I visited family in San Francisco, which was really, really wonderful and healing. But my cousin, was mostly to spend time. We're very close. She's like a sister to me. She has 2 kids that are under the age of 4. So I helped her take care of them, her and her husband.
Aww.
So it was really fun. I wouldn't say like, I was sleeping in and like
no you were taking care of kids.
Yeah, but
no matter how late you stay out, ladies and gentlemen, as a parent, you will be up at 7 a.m, if not earlier.
But they call me Auntie M, like in the Wizard of Oz.
It's a twister. That's amazing.
So cute. So I love them. But and I was hoping when I was in LA it would be sunny and I could sit by the pool, and it is like the worst weather ever. So
it's pretty bad. But we need the rain, as every Angelina will say. We need the rain, if only to prevent a fucking what happened last January from happening this January. Massive wildfires, of course.
All right, Debbie Downer.
Yeah. City is still reeling from that. I did want to ask you, because I think it's good that you're going on all these shows, but leftists generally, if I can call you that, don't get invited to a lot of shows. And I think it's only been recently, honestly, since the massive debacle that is the Biden-Harris presidency, the candidacy of both of them, that it seems like some outlets are starting to listen. I know you were on Crooked Media, and I was happy to see you as like someone who isn't Hassan, who's wonderful, but it's like,
Does Hassan have to be the only guy that can get invited places because his platform's so big to say this kind of thing?
Exactly. His platform and his arms are just so big. And you're like, and again, in sort of, I mean, and Haas knows this probably better than anyone in this like search to find the male Joe Rogan. It's like, well, they've got to be a male and they've got to look the MAGA part, but say the right other things.
Right. That is interesting. I mean, it's the obsession with the alienated young man is driving me crazy. I like, I forget what the topic was on the show last week, but it's like, do young women have the ability to be alienated? Because like the president's a rapist and a pedophile, for example.
And we nominated a rapist to the Supreme Court.
Yep.
Currently sitting. New ones all the time.
Accused a rapist in a police report is our new Secretary of War. Pete Hegseth. Like the obsession with the alienated young men, it is just this like privileging of their kind of fragility. Like it just, Theo Von's in his 40s and he's like on there, oh guys, I didn't know. Like I didn't know Trump was a bad guy. Like please don't be mad at me. I mean, and those Nelk boys, the infantilization of them, I'm sick of this garbage.
Well, they're boys. If we were girls, maybe we just need to call us the Goyles.
Yeah, right. So I think, I have been kind of pushing and trying to get the message out there and doing these shows because I don't know. It's probably because I'm white and like, a white woman that I can talk about the genocide in a way where it's I try to be as direct as possible and as clear as possible, because if it was a Muslim person coming on there, like 80% of the audience might be scared. And it's my duty to talk about those kinds of things in unambiguous terms. So I was on Pod Save America, or on their kind of, they have a new feed, a conversation with John.
Pod Save Part of America.
Yes.
Pod Try.
And I'm like, I make a point. I'm deliberate about this. I want to talk about one democratic state. I want to talk about one democratic state from the river to the sea and speak about it in the terms of apartheid, because there's literally nobody that's doing that except Zoran. Zoran was the first real politician to say, I believe Israel doesn't have a right to exist as a Jewish state, but as a state of equal rights. And Rashida Tlaib, of course, is like amazing on this issue. So, but most of the national left-wing progressive democratic representatives are still not talking about what the vision of what's going to happen to this area looks like. The fact that Palestinians live essentially under greater Israel when they're under military occupation, and Israel has illegally occupied the West Bank and East Jerusalem since 1967, and of course the genocide in Gaza. Like the fact that people don't even know that is what the reality is, is that they are it's very similar to apartheid South Africa. They're trying to divide Gaza, make Gaza into like a Bantustan. It's very, very similar.
Well, I mean, the West Bank is already divided into Bantustans. I mean, but I think that yes, there has been very little reporting. The mainstream media, by and large, has sort of bought into the idea that there is a ceasefire when there's not. I mean, you have independent journalists like Jasper Nathaniel being the one out there in the West Bank, reporting on the settlers and whatnot. And the plans for Gaza, I did a deep dive. I think it was suppressed on YouTube. But if you want to watch the craziest ideas for Gaza, they're like Tony Blair's involved, dog. Like it's Kushner's involved. There's some scary plans out there. And I guess why this is relevant to you is exactly what you're saying. I do think that being on the majority report, it's been 5 years, right?
It has.
And you've only gotten better, only gotten, more comfortable, and we rightfully love you. But I also feel like since the genocide really began, you as someone, you have been like a stalwart voice on this issue day in and day out. And to the point where a lot of, activist friends of mine, the old heads, the group chat are like, who is Emma Vigeland? They didn't know you before but they know you because you're speaking out on this issue and they follow the issue. And so it's like, oh no, this is a very good ambassador for, yes, real liberation for all people in that region, and real democracy. And so I feel like, whereas every other commentator we might be talking about has shied away. You've been, thanks to Majority Report and being independent media, been able to lean into it. And I do think that's why actually your star has risen in the way that it has, in a good way.
Thank you. I mean, my star, I appreciate it. It's hard for me to look you in the eye when you're saying such nice things.
I'll look over here.
No, I know. I have a problem with accepting such kind words.
But yes, and utilizing your privilege and all that, and that is good. And I also think, speaking like, we love Sam, obviously, but like, you're quite a bit younger, and as we know, it's not even partisan at this point. Yeah. It is, the majority of young people are like, I don't like Israel.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't like what they do.
Right. And it's genuinely harmful to like democracy to have the Democrats and, left-wing or liberal media just completely ceding the issue or abandoning it altogether.
100%.
Because we're leaving a vacuum for these Christian nationalists to articulate a vision that's inherently anti-Semitic, that is not one that is based in, as you say, liberation for all people, but also just like genuine belief in things like racial and ethnic integration and how that engenders understanding. And I think that, it was a tense moment talking a little bit yesterday to John Lovett on Pod Save America, because I am putting that in unambiguous terms. Like, how do you talk about multiculturalism in the United States? And how do you say that diversity is our strength? Although maybe liberals aren't saying that anymore because they retreat so far from these things.
Yes, they have.
But that was, at least in the Obama years, an ethic that we spoke about. And then also support a ethno-state maintained by force and domination and via apartheid. It is so incompatible with what they advocate, with what liberals advocate for domestically, that it puts them in a really uncomfortable position. But that needs to be ironed out, because it's genuinely handcuffing our ability to meet the moment in this fascist administration.
Well, I could not. I like to watch you, John, less so, I guess. So I was mostly looking at the comments on that video, and the top comment is someone saying that John Lovett forgets how to speak English when he's talking about Israel Palestine, which, I'm not saying you co-sign, but that's very funny. And then other people saying openly, I had to stop listening to PodSave because they weren't covering this issue well.
I will say that Tommy, Tommy Vitor and Ben Rhodes, their show Pod Save the World, has been good on this. I can't really speak to how the other hosts of the show have covered it. So it was interesting to have a one-on-one. I had assumed that I would probably be talking to Tommy, because I'm friends with Tommy, friendly with Tommy. But it was John, and I was like, all right, this might be a little tense, and at points it was, but overall I think productive, because also, we can't just be afraid of disagreeing, and liberals can't be afraid of disagreeing.
Yes.
I mean, the how Trump was, Trump just owns conflict and debate. Even if he's lying, he's in the thick of it. And just zoom out on how Biden and Harris treated the media, and it was so controlled.
Yep.
Everything needs to be agreed upon before. We can't have it. I mean, the Joe Rogan thing is the infamous example, but I don't even think that's the worst of it. I think it's so much bigger than that.
We're not going to reply to text messages from people concerned about Gaza.
Yeah. They are so obsessed with controlling the message that they are losing the credibility that they should have, because the facts are on their side, even with all of the failures of the Democrats and liberals.
We're sort of splitting a bunch of issues, and I feel like this is the most podcast-ass conversation I've ever had, because it's, we're going to get into some clippies. Don't worry. We'll talk about Epstein. We'll talk about the Democrats in a little bit. But I do feel like you saw overwhelmingly talking about what's wrong with young men, and you mentioned Zoran, and we mentioned the overwhelming amount of young people who want a change in policy on Israel. And young men overwhelmingly voted for Zoran, right. 18 to 40, whatever I don't remember what it was, but it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
And this was also someone, look, Zoran, he didn't make Israel his top 5 issues, but he did say he supports a democratic Israel for all people. And that was enough. And knowing where he stood, as much as I don't think you need to condemn the global intifada, it just means the global uprising, shake off, all that, nonviolent movement.
But it's a Arabic word. So scary.
But oh, it's affordability. It's meeting the moment. That's like meeting young men is really just about actually responding to the voter base broadly. And before we leave the feminist stuff, because I do think the flip backlash that we really got ever since Clinton lost, I even think some leftists played into that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, you know, the pantsuit nation fight song Katy Perry bullshit really got wrapped into this is what feminism is, and then lo and behold, you know, the right to an abortion gets taken away by the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like the flippance around feminism did that from the left, but I'm saying like you've heard a lot of quiet from kind of the same, like making fun of, like, you know, liberal feminism, but we've been so poorly represented as women.
Yeah.
You know, by these like neoliberal centrist ladies.
I was talking on Higher Learning yesterday with Van and Rachel. It was a great conversation, and Van was kind of asking me, like, do you think Graham Plattner needs to sit down with more Black media to explain that? And I thought that was a really thoughtful question, and from Black progressive media. And in answering it, I was just trying to think, like, part of it's because we just don't have a lot of that. Like, our space is really white and it's really male.
Yes.
And
on the left, you mean?
On the left, on the online left. And I'm not sure exactly how to fully correct that. Right. Oh, sorry. I just don't want to keep turning to you and then missing the mic. So I'm just going to move it like this.
Oh, you're perfect.
Is that okay?
That's a great one. Yeah.
Okay. And so I'm not exactly sure how to correct that, but I do think like we should be at the very least conscious of that, and how for some people that Bernie bro part was off-putting, or didn't necessarily feel geared towards them. And there was like a sneering cynicism sometimes from the online left that is off-putting and not necessarily galvanizing, and it makes people feel like they're being talked down to, or that they can't be a part of like a broader movement. And so I'm just trying to bring sincerity back, dude. I'm trying to bring some sort of like openness back, and being congenial to a degree when we can, because we've got to bring these liberals over or we're screwed. That's our path here, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that, like, I think the recent Karine Jean-Pierre saying, very much like deflecting any criticism from her time as Biden's press secretary by just constantly referring to herself as a Black woman and, queer Black woman. And it was just like, we're so done with that kind of emptiness of identity politics. And I think also the other lesson when when the Supreme Court destroyed the, Roe v. Wade was, I think, from liberals to be like, oh, Obama and Biden have not been fighting to codify Roe. Like, these Dems are not the answer. And I think some leftists were like, damn, these Dems don't even care about the parts of their coalition they claim to care about. Mm-hmm. Like liberal feminists who want to protect abortion rights, they fucking don't care either.
Yeah, because they talk about the Big Tent, but it's like the most exclusionary attitude they always have. Like there is a liberal censoriousness problem. And that's why I think that Plattner has continued to like maintain his popularity, at least within the state of Maine, where like people are kind of sick of this stuff. People are sick of constantly narrowing the tent, and people are ready also, I think, for people who accept responsibility and apologize. Could be a pretty significant antidote to the right in this country, where Trump's attitude and all the Republicans are to lie and deny and deflect and do nothing and believe in and do nothing to show weakness. And when we're talking about, let's bring the young alienated men back into it. Say there were some young men that voted for Trump because of like their brain wasn't that developed and they were shitposting online and maybe got into
that's most of the base.
Yeah. But they got into a rabbit hole that they weren't fully aware of, and now they're figuring it out at this point. It's probably a pretty good message to them that you can apologize and move forward as long as you are sincere about it and you listen. And I think that's part of why it's been he's maintained that momentum in that race, is because people are starved for that kind of contrition.
So this is, again, Graham Plattner, who's running for the Senate in Maine for challenging Janet Mills for the Democratic primary. And of course, because I've said that and because Emma said that, many people will call us Nazi sympathizers because he, did have what he said he didn't know was, nor, let's be real, most of us did not know was a Nazi tattoo, because most of us aren't experts in Nazi tattoos. But I do think, and I'm working on getting veterans actually to come on my show to talk about this, because I've organized with veterans in my time, because, my time was the anti-Iraq war. Now my time is done. But, like that was that moment. And there were a lot of vets who were coming from a culture of misogyny and racism, and which is this military, deep violence towards women. They weren't exhibiting that in the movement, but they were trying to unlearn it based on their critiques around U.S. imperialism that they were starting to, also question. So I'm not here to say like Graham Plattner is perfect. I fucking don't know. I don't know him, but I do think that point of like some kind of forgiveness of change is important. And I think some of the critiques of like, we always afford that usually to like men and white men, that totally is valid as well. Totally fair. So anyway, but that being said, who's the representative who called for like, some Republican to be killed? That dude got reelected. So Jay
Jacobs.
So like there can be forgiveness.
Yeah. People didn't give a shit.
He's black, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Well, I mean, people like the Republicans have a completely, I don't know, just lit any credibility they have to pearl clutch on fucking fire. Can I swear on this?
Of course.
Well, I've already done it. I'm sorry.
It's called the Bitchuation Room. You think that's helpful out there on these internet streets?
I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry to pollute your streets though with the F word. But like it's just they've lost their credibility to pearl clutch.
And I think back to now we're braiding this whole conversation back in, but back to Gaza. I mean, really around Gaza is when they lost their ability to say anything about human rights, about equality, about international law. I mean, sure as shit, not about international law. I had somewhere to go. Yes, this is where I want to go. So you've been off this week from your show, The Majority Report. However, this week on Sunday, I believe, Senate Democrats caved and decided that they were good with a IOU from Senate Republicans to eventually have a discussion about ACA subsidies. No commitment to pass anything.
Mike Johnson's like, we're not doing that. Okay. Great.
They truly got nothing. But they ended it, and I'm sure, like, I mean, you traveled. Let's see, did you fly out before? I mean, as someone who's currently air traveling, or flying, air traveling, like a little bit happy for people who are flying and FAA, agents. Although if there's any left, like who are now getting paid, but it was a massive cave, and even liberal Democrats saw how much of a massive cave this was.
I absolutely agree. And I think that there's a reason that every Democrat that of this gang of 8, and Ossoff was speculated to be somebody who could have caved, but he didn't end up doing that, which I think says everything.
Yeah.
In 2026, he's up, right? And he was considered frontline, and you don't want to hurt your chances in 2026. And it was his calculation that it would be better to vote against this deal than to vote for it. So that says a lot about where the base is. And then, of course, it's like 3 or 4 of the Democrats who voted for this are retiring.
Yeah.
And then the rest are either up in 2028 or 2030. And I do love Chuck Schumer thinking he's so slick and pretending like he wasn't across this entire negotiation. There's been reporting showing that he was in daily communication with them. And like, this is the question every reporter should be asking this of Schumer. Okay, so you didn't know this was happening. You didn't know that 8 members of your caucus were going to cave. How was that possible? One of your number one jobs, besides, as he would say, is keeping the left pro-Israel, which he's failing at that side job, side gig job that he has going. Your whole job as Senate Majority Leader is to keep your caucus together. Nancy Pelosi retiring, right? But we'll give her credit. She was always keeping the caucus together. That is a part of having a unified opposition. So you're either incredibly bad at that core tenet of your job, or you're lying. And it's the latter, because like the airline lobby was pissed. Wall Street hates a shutdown. It causes instability in the economy. Of course, the harm that like Tim Kaine voting for it, there's a way I can like understand it to a degree in the fact that there's so many federal workers in Virginia who were really, really hurting. I understand that, but you can sell that, I guess, better. I don't think
the tide was turning,
but the tide was turning, and it was just undercut their momentum. And it's a gift. Well, it really undercut their momentum out of the elections, like to cave in this way. But then you have the Epstein thing that happened right after that, which sort of cushioned the blow a bit. And I'm sure that was a part of the Democrats' plan, at least the House Democrats, because once the shutdown ended, Grijalva was able to be sworn in, and now we have enough the signatures for the discharge.
20,000 emails, everybody. I hope you are going through them like God has commanded you to do. No, yeah, I mean, I don't want to say the Epstein files were part of the calculation, because I don't think that. I'm much more swayed by the you don't want to shut down during Black Friday, Thanksgiving travel. Like, no, that's gonna be bad for everybody, specifically money.
But it's like, it was benefiting the Democrats. They had just had electoral wins showing that people were pissed off about it. All of the polling indicated that people blame the Republicans more for the shutdown than they blame the Democrats. And so then you just have the question of like, what is really underneath this? And the rumors are that these Democrats were really concerned that Trump was genuinely going to nuke the filibuster.
So put a pin in that really quickly, because I want to play this guy Sam Cedar and his thoughts on that, which is, I know, got to. But I did want to say, I do think, I had Pema Levy on from Mother Jones telling me about the SNAP stuff and all this stuff. So not only was there pressure, obviously, from federal workers, from like, FAA workers and TSA and whatnot, but there was also massive pressure over SNAP. And the Supreme Court was stuck ruling on it. And it was like, there was disbursements for some states, for like half the blue states, but they couldn't take them back. So like Trump was showing his whole ass, going like, I am literally calling it an emergency to stop feeding 42 million people in this country. And he was being exposed for doing that. And there was confusion in the courts. So actually some people were getting some money. And so it was all kind of coming to a head of like, this looks terrible on him. And Trump even admitted that after the, election, failures. So
like, at least give it another week, to your point.
Give it a week.
Even if you're going to cave, I would have hated it too. But if you gave it a week, that dynamic could have played out that you're describing.
Exactly. And they didn't. And I think the filibuster, so I was like, man, it's money. The Senate doesn't work for us, which they don't. But I wanted you to explain this a little bit more, because Sam said something the other day. I'm going to actually do this. And it drove me up the wall how accurate this might be.
Oh my God. All right, let's do it.
The question is, why did they do it? I have an idea, but here's Bernie Sanders on Brian. Not going to. Why did they do this? I think the biggest reason is, if you look at these Senate Democrats that voted for this, they either did it on behalf of other people or themselves.
I forgot to speed this up.
This was to protect the filibuster.
Here we go.
Because the Republicans had two choices. They were either this is if the Democrats held out. They would either capitulate to the Democrats, extend the Obamacare subsidies, which they probably wanted to do, but these people are so deranged that even just the idea that they would lose to the Democrats is enough to say that even if the losing to Democrats means that we actually help our constituents and help us electorally because the constituents are not as upset, they still won't do that because this is an authoritarian regime. And you can never, ever let your opponents win anything, get any type of win. We saw it. We saw when Trump said, don't let Biden get a win. Don't do anything bipartisan.
Yep, around immigration.
They understand this dynamic. So if they weren't going to concede to the Democrats, they had one other option where they literally could just pass whatever they wanted to. They've done this on 3 occasions already, just this year. And that is suspend or get rid of the filibuster. Filibuster is not a law. The 60 vote threshold is not a law. It is a tradition in the Senate, essentially. And
now, hang on, time out really quickly, just for my understanding. They could get rid of the Republicans could vote to get rid of the filibuster in order to reopen the government?
Yes.
So that's very easy.
But they don't. Well, that was the threat, right? I mean, I think that Trump was really, really pushing for that. They could, because if they don't need those Democrats, they can just do an up and down vote on the CR.
Right.
So that was like that was I think Sam's theory is very good, very on point, and I think Corey Robin wrote an item in Jacobin backing up some of this reporting.
Okay, I'm going to play a little bit more.
Yeah.
They could easily just say, we're going to have a vote to change the rules. The parliamentarian says, you can't really do that. And then
they do it anyway.
John Thune says, hey, remember when we changed the way that we were going to account for the budget in the big, beautiful bill? Forever, we have always said, if something's going to expire, let's say these tax cuts are going to expire, when we account for the cost of the bill that follows it, we use an accounting method where we basically say, okay, the tax cuts are going to expire. We're going to assume they're going to go back up to where they were because the tax cuts expire. And if we cut from there, that's going to cost the government something. They unilaterally decided that they were going to change the way they were accounting. So the big, beautiful bill looked like it cost less. Now, everybody knows it didn't, but on paper, it looked like it cost less. That was one time they got rid of the filibuster. The other time was when they wanted to override California environmental standards. They overrode the filibuster. They could have done it this time. And Trump would have forced them to do it, eventually, the Republicans. But the Democrats still... they are so institutionally blind. They are such institutionalists. They are so determined to get back to normalcy, even though it is quite clear there's another party that is not normal, that is full-on authoritarian at this point. They wanted to protect the filibuster. They wanted to protect the filibuster more than those Republicans, because if the Republicans want to make it easy for the Democrats to cave, they could have said, okay, we'll do half subsidies. We'll do subsidies for a year. We'll do subsidies for 6 months. But they didn't, because they knew Democrats are going to cave. And why is it so important to people like Chuck Schumer?
Almost done.
Yeah.
Catherine Masto Cortez.
Masto.
Jackie Rosen. Tim Kaine. Why is it so important to them to have the filibuster? So that they can vote for policies that their voters want and know that it won't go into effect because they don't have 60 votes because they can't get the extra 10 votes they need or 5 votes they need from the Republicans.
All right. So his point is effectively Democrats want to preserve the filibuster in order to have plausible deniability on their ability to get anything done for the American people, for their base, for progressives. He goes on to say it filibuster 9 times out of 10 stops real progress.
Yeah.
From getting done. And like,
and I think there's a genuine threat too to do this in the, like, he talks about those other more, small ball instances, like with the California environmental standards. But this pertains to the government budget, which would be open a whole different can of worms, because this is a part of the kind of way that the Senate institution maintains itself, is that when you need that 60 vote threshold, when you need that 60 vote threshold for the continuing resolution, it boxes out the left and the right and the far right of both parties. Sure. I just wanted to read a little from Corey Robin here, where I think he kind of echoes what Sam says. He just said the main issue was the filibuster. There was growing pressure from Donald Trump to get rid of it, blah, blah, blah. It has very little to do with preserving their power while they are in the minority. That ship has obviously sailed. The Democratic leadership doesn't want to get rid of the filibuster for the same reason the Republican leadership doesn't want to get rid of it. The filibuster allows the leadership of both parties to keep their radical flanks at bay. Chuck Schumer needs the filibuster to protect himself from the Bernie Sanders wing in the Senate and the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wing in the House. If you can't get to 60, Bernie and AOC, we have to follow the lead of Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. Same goes for John Thune, to whoever inhabits the radical role at any given moment for the GOP. And he also just has this excerpt from the New York Times on November 4th. This just a quick sentence. In reality, the filibuster also serves Republicans as a handy check on a president who sometimes takes stances that carry substantial risk or defy party orthodoxy, an excuse for Senate Republicans to avoid doing things they don't see as sound policy or politics without infuriating Mr. Trump. So this was, I would say, a moment of like Senate congeniality, of shared understanding with a guy like Thune and a guy like Chuck Schumer, where they want to maintain the institution that put them in the top 2 positions in the Senate. And that is that is the role that they play. They need the filibuster to maintain their power, because they would lose control of their caucus in the ways that matter to them if it were to go away.
I mean, I definitely hear that it's like both sides, but you're like, what? The right has handed all their balls to Stephen Miller and Donald Trump. Like, they have, fucking Mike Johnson has basically, erased the role of Congress, of the House of Representatives completely, allowing Trump to do tariffs and whatever the hell else he wants. So like, my question is like, I understand that like for the right, it's like, oh, I guess we can say we don't have the votes, which is good when you're trying to prevent authoritarianism. But in what aspect have they prevented it? Not at all. Instead, I look to like what Democrats are preventing, which could be a universal health care, could be paid family leave, it could be the Build Back Better bill in full that we were promised, that Joe Biden wanted to pass and progressives stuck by, and it was the centrist Democrats that thwarted, like Manchin, like Gottheimer. So it's just like, this is the kind of shit that makes me absolutely
I think you're right, though.
Nuts.
I think you're right, though, because I maybe perhaps Republicans are more concerned with nuking the filibuster and Democrats getting back into power. That's also a possibility there. And if they were the ones to do it, what that would mean when Democrats get back into
power.
Can
actually pass what they want.
Yeah, if that ever happens, right? And so I think the point that you're making, or like it's connected to our assessment of this, is just basically that like, those institutional Democrats got played. They got played because.
But did they? I mean, I think Sam is making the point that they didn't get played because they want to prevent progress as well.
Right. Or at the very least, like, perhaps they were sold a bill of goods in terms of like John Thune and the Republicans' desire to maintain the filibuster above all else, and that's much more in their interest.
Sure, it's we should abolish the Senate. Yes. I'm sorry, the Senate should be abolished.
It's undemocratic already. Yes. So like, I'm getting lost in a few of these points here, but it is like the filibuster disproportionately helps the right. Because of the fact that rural red states have the same number of Senate seats as the Democratic ones. And so they already have disproportionate power even if the filibuster was adopted or was abolished tomorrow. Like they have disproportionate representation on that alone.
Yes.
And then on top of that,
they
have
votes.
the filibuster. So it's an undemocratic institution, and it should, to your point, go by the way of like the House of Lords in the UK, where it should be much more of a ceremonial body, but it really, really is the center of power in the legislature.
I didn't realize the House of Lords was ceremonial. Is it like the Crown?
I believe, not fully, but its power was significantly diminished a few hundred, and maybe 150 years ago.
Sound off in the comments if you know
please
anything
do.
about the House of Commons, or the House of Lords.
Yeah.
What do you call the whole thing? Parliament?
Yeah.
I knew that.
I think so.
Here's my thing. You start to lose hope in moments like these in the Democratic Party. And this is when I consult, my mentors who are, it's like, we have to continually fight for this party that will never love us back, change it, primary people, Zoran Mamdani it. And we are winning slowly, but it's very slow. And the biggest obstacle to progress are these centrist corporate Democrats, are these institutionalists. And so it's very difficult, especially for you and I, and to consistently tell my audience, no, let's keep fighting for this fucking corporate ass party. Number one, there aren't other options. I do think running independent in some places actually would be beneficial, but we don't have third parties. And we should work towards creating them in our lifetime, but that would probably have to happen from more of a top down, a meeting of top and you know what I'm saying?
Top and bottom strategy.
A top and bottom, inside outside strategy.
Hey.
Nothing is sexual here, but like, it is hard. It's just hard to be like, oh, no, keep believing in it, which is why I'm telling my audience, it's like, join Working Families Party, join DSA, get involved locally, do street protests, work on an outside strategy, because that's what these fools really need.
Yeah.
To hold them accountable. It's like,
well, the DSA thing is a good example of that. In New York, at least, like they started in terms of, assembly races or city council, and they built up slowly a little bit of a coalition in Albany, a little bit of coalition in City Hall. And what do you know? That was a lot more fertile soil for a guy like Zoran Mamdani to win, because he had a base of support in actual government.
Yeah.
And even still, DSA is operating within the Democratic Party. Like Jabari Brisport, I believe, ran as a Green Party person and then ended up winning as a Democrat. So like, we're just not in the place right now where we have the luxury to operate outside of the party, except in like very narrow instances, like in Nebraska with Dan Osborne, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. There's more to talk about, and we got to get to it, because there's the one silver lining of all of this coming down and the government reopening is that Adelita Grijalva was sworn in by Mike Johnson and was that final 218th vote to basically release the Epstein files. And some of them, we have now 20,000 emails from Jeffrey Epstein. And I let's just start off with this banger, because it's kind of the best. Let's see if this is me trying to do all these things. But this one is from, look, let's just go over. There's comments Epstein made about Donald Trump, that he is the worst person he's ever met.
Yeah.
Not a decent bone in his body, which that's coming from a sex trafficking pedophile. There is comments of Donald Trump spending time alone with, I think who we now know is Virginia Giuffre.
Well, they're assuming that that's the case. Yeah.
I think there was another unredacted email with it mentioned her.
Okay.
But something like, he was alone. And this was around 2018, when he was sort of almost out of, like, had not been rearrested. He said, I'm 75% there. Basically, I'm like nearly there. And also, Donald Trump is a dog who hasn't barked, meaning he's not outing me. He's not saying anything. There is information that Trump knew all about it. He emailed Michael Wolff back and forth, journalist Michael Wolff, about strategy in terms of if Trump is asked about Epstein, what should Trump say? Michael Wolff, kind of slimy ass journalist he is, gave him advice and was like, actually, it's really good leverage to hold over a president. You might want that. Yeah. Or it might get you killed. So this is all coming out. And this is on top of the fact that we know they planned fucking Miss Teen USA pageants together. They absolutely preyed on the young girls who were part of those pageants. One of Epstein's victims was part of the Miss Teen USA pageant. But this one, Emma, is my fave because what? This is between, if you can't read this, it's fine. We'll read it to you. It's between Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark, which is the most brother ass email. How you doing? March 19, 2018. A while back, you mentioned that you were pre-diabetic. Has anything changed with that?
This is male intimacy.
But this is like super brother. Like, hey, you okay?
Yeah.
What's up with that doctor's appointment? What is your boy Donald up to now? Your boy, 2018, currently in power. Your boy. And then here we go. Jeffrey Epstein emails back. All good. Bannon with me. Sounds like he's very busy. Very busy. Very busy entertaining.
In 2018, Bannon with me.
Steve Bannon.
Yeah.
Now we know, based on, again, sleazy but reporter who had access to Epstein, that basically Epstein was Michael Wolff's source in writing that book, Fire and Fury. He talked to Epstein all the time about the inner workings of the first Trump administration, who was on the outs, who was on the ins. Reince Priebus's name was mentioned, that fucking guy, if we remember the sweet summer child days of the first Trump administration. Anyway, okay. And then all good, Bannon with me. Brother writes back, ask him if Putin has the photos of Trump blowing Bubba. Okay.
You need to explain Bubba to me.
So Bubba is Bill Clinton's nickname.
Oh. I don't want that in my head.
Bubba, there is only one Bubba, ladies and gentlemen. Bubba is Bill Clinton, and maybe Trump is blowing him, and maybe Putin has photos. Or this is just a brother. He's just joshing.
Yeah. I don't think Trump would give head. I got to be honest with you.
He's definitely not a giver.
Although
that would be incredible if, like, ultimately Trump's a bottom. Like, Trump being a bottom would absolutely destroy the MAGA movement more than Trump being a pedo. Like, nah, Trump gives. Trump gives. It's bad, but he gives. All teeth. He takes the teeth out.
Yeah.
He takes the teeth out, y'all. Okay, now here's the thing. If this was a joke and you're the brother, you write back, ha ha ha, lol.
Yeah.
No. Jeff writes back, Jeffrey Epstein, and I thought I had surus. And surus, I think, is a Yiddish word for trouble.
Okay.
And I thought I had trouble. What is that? Sort of. So maybe it's not Bubba, which sounds like a joke, but it might not be. And then Mark, his brother, writes back, you and your boy Donnie can make a remake of the movie Get Hard, which is, I think, a movie where is it Kevin Hart and Will Ferrell goes to prison, so he's got to he like practices giving a blowjob. It's not a great comedy.
It didn't look great.
I didn't watch it, but I've been Reddit deep diving on this.
Okay.
And then Jeffrey writes back, you mean Donnie T? I don't. Okay. And then I'd rather be in Donnie D's shoes. This is them going back for us. Mark back to. I don't get the Donnie T, Donnie D, if you know, but Emma, I think that Bill Clinton filleting Donald Trump filleting Bill Clinton would single-handedly implode both the Democratic and the Republican Party. I mean, yes, and in one fell swoop.
That would be the fresh start that we need, the cleansing fire to begin again.
I mean, first we'd have to gouge our eyeballs out if we ever saw such photos. But then from the ashes, our souls are so
far fucked.
I'm just saying, like,
what if it's like the Ring video where we have to watch Trump blowing Bill Clinton and then we die within like 8 days?
Or we have to watch Trump blowing Bill Clinton and then we get like universal health care and our debt relief, like for student debts, and like but like in order to do that we have to rewatch it.
Yeah, right. I think that all of these possibilities are very realistic.
First of all, I am a P-tape truther. I don't know if you knew that in the Bitchuation room.
No.
So there's my Ring camera outing me already. What the fuck is my phone? Yeah.
Someone's here.
They're
hand delivering the tape.
I'm a P-tape truther. I absolutely think that Putin has compromat on Trump. I have no doubts.
Well, I'm not necessarily opposed to that theory. I just think that like Trump is a part of probably it has been compromised by a lot of different people.
Sure.
Well,
now he's got a whole ballroom just to gather all the different honeypots.
Yeah. And I mean, Roy Cohn was somebody who recorded everything similar to Jeffrey Epstein, and there are rumors that he even was responsible for getting dirt on like J. Edgar Hoover, who was a closeted gay man and was going to some of these Roy Cohn parties. And Epstein clearly used similar tactics when he had all those cameras and that crazy setup in his house. He was recording everything. I would imagine that there are like compromising videos. The way that Trump is reacting to this, like what we're seeing here is as close to, bulletproof evidence that Trump was at the very least aware of this criminality for quite a long time and longer than he said, and likely participated in it. But what else could they be covering up that would be even more incriminating than this? And my guess is that it's like physical media of some kind with some sort of recordings for blackmail. Because if he was an intelligence asset, his blackmail gathering is insanely lucrative, and that could also explain why he was so mysteriously wealthy.
This is March of 2018, and I believe later that year is when Epstein was actually rearrested, if not early 2019. And his safes and vaults were raided at his home, both in Manhattan and I think at Palm Beach. And that was Donald Trump's FBI. I mean, I jokingly hold up a little, T killed E, but I believe it.
No, I believe it too.
I'm like, who was in charge of the FBI? Who has access to these possible compromat, these photos? And this is a journalist of the New York Times in the emails that we now know. And this was a journalist who first reported the story of Trump saying Epstein was a fine guy and liked women on the younger side. But that journalist was also offered photos of Donald and girls in bikinis in my kitchen from Epstein.
Did we? I don't understand why. There's some stories that just go away, and I don't understand why. The Wired reporting from earlier this year, where Bondi and the FBI released the supposed raw footage of Epstein's cell, and they were either too incompetent to take out the metadata that showed that they had edited out a portion of it in Adobe, which is what Wired's reporting team found, or the person that they tasked with it, Kash Patel and Mr. Bug Eyes, tasked with it in the FBI, wanted to leave a trail to show that this was in some way some sort of cover up. I mean, it's got to be one of those two things.
It's Bongino. Bongino's in there trying to.
It could be Bongino.
Send smoke signals.
It could be Bongino.
Save me! I have to work with Kash Patel.
Yeah, isn't it amazing? We haven't heard too much from Bongino since then, but he was supposedly furious about this cover up. I mean, it hurts his podcasting brand, because I don't know if you know this, but the FBI director and the deputy FBI director went from podcasting to those professions.
Do you know they can't even do brand deals from the FBI?
That's so fucked up.
I know.
It's really messy. If Trump can do it, why can't they?
I know. They had one Squarespace ad, and it was not even that much money, and they couldn't.
It's really messed up. They should at least, very least, be able to get into BetterHelp or something like that.
I know. They wanted a podcasting studio adjacent to the FBI, and they couldn't even have that because they said it was a security risk.
Yeah,
so unfair.
Everyone's so lame here down in Alexandria or whatever the hell.
I gotta wake up every morning. Bongino being like, I listen to Kash Patel take a shit every morning.
Everyone in the FBI can hear it.
Oh, for sure. So about this exchange, Thomas initiated the exchange this is the journalist who no longer works at the New York Times. His name is Landon Thomas. It's a lot of people are rightfully pointing out that it's very shady that a New York Times journalist had this information. We don't know about it. I mean, again, Michael Wolff basically parlayed this into a best-selling book. He parlayed it into having some sort of notoriety and fame. And he also dropped the information that there were naked images of Trump and underage women. We don't know if underage, but girls, women, fucking, I don't know, young women with like a stain on Trump's pants. This is what he dropped. He dropped it, what, 3 weeks before the last election? I talked about it on Piers Morgan, and like, obviously Piers didn't want to talk about it. Landon Thomas Jr., he initiated the exchange in 2015 with an email referring to Epstein, referring to a 2002 New York Magazine article Thomas had written, which Trump was quoted as calling Epstein a terrific guy who likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. Now everyone is coming to me thinking I have juicy info on you and Trump because of this, the reporter wrote, referring to the article. Epstein then replied to Thomas in a series of emails over the next 2 hours in his typical error-ridden style. I mean, honestly, have you ever... It's too bad Epstein missed ChatGPT.
It is, but I've heard people say that it's like a power play to have incorrect grammar or something, like some psychotic people like this, like do it on purpose in order to make it seem like, you know, they don't either care about being formal with you or, you know, I don't know.
He's busy trafficking.
Yeah.
In one email, Epstein writes, "Would you like photos of Donald and girls in bikinis in my kitchen?" Thomas replied, "Yes!" exclamation mark. 2 exclamation marks.
It's like when your kid asks, like, "Do you want a cookie?" Yes.
Yeah, and then
Do
you're
you want
like,
dessert? Yes.
Yes, I do.
Please.
Yes, I do. You're like, okay, well, you got to clean up your toys first. And I think people are rightfully saying, like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Let's see. Caroline, leave it. These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. What? This is on some like Rumsfeld, like the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence.
No, it's worse than that crap because we're seeing literally evidence that's showing that he probably did something wrong, and they are just saying it's the opposite.
Yep.
Like Rumsfeld, they at the very least tried to massage like the truth and lie based on more limited public information.
They went to a few greater lengths. I mean, Cheney would have done this all different, you know.
Cheney would have been smarter about this.
Exactly.
R.I.P. King. I mean, rest in piss, by the way.
Yes, rest in piss is what the P means on that. The Intercept also talking about this New York Times journalist. Thomas, on one occasion, attempted to convince Epstein to speak out about Trump. Thomas had reportedly told his editors he solicited information from Epstein but would not write about Epstein himself. In the newly released email exchange, Thomas offered Epstein to pass any information about Trump to other journalists. Why? "I'm serious, man. For the good of the nation, why not try to get some of this out there?" This is like... Landon wrote in exchange, "I would not do it myself, but I would pass it on to another reporter." Epstein deflected, sending a link to a story about a Norwegian heiress. "My 20-year-old girlfriend in 93. That after 2 years I gave to Donald." Meaning I gave the woman. "Amazing," Thomas wrote back. "When did you last talk to him?" Like, okay, what is the line here between trying to keep a source?
I know. I mean, the wolf stuff is just like egregious.
Well, yeah.
But I mean, this is not the kind of journalism that I think we would ever engage in if we were journalists. Like the amount of flattery that's involved.
"Hey, man, you know, you could be a hero. Hey, listen, greatest sex trafficking pedophile who, you know, financier.
Yeah.
Don't you want to be like a good guy?"
Right. But I mean, the fact that it works at all, I know that I've been seeing that some of the conservatives are jumping on the Michael Wolff thing. Like they're like leading with that. I mean, how crazy is it? It's just, shut up. That's not the point of this story. The fact that there are these conservatives, that's what they want to focus on.
Wait, what part?
Well, the fact that Michael Wolff was like being manipulative or giving Epstein tips on what he could, or asking Epstein to tell Trump what to say.
But that is precise. But that's also precisely why, like, Michael Wolff's a piece of shit journalist, is like,
yeah,
because if and when things like that come out, it's going to make it look like you're manipulating Epstein to, like, you know, blackmail Trump. But obviously the dumbasses don't think, like, why would there be blackmail on Trump?
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I think there's a fine line, and these guys need to be pieces of shit to associate with pieces of shit to get the information that we need. I'm not going to put.
Meanwhile, Olivia Nuzzy's in trouble just because she was a little bit nice to RFK Jr.
Just a little bit. I mean,
new memoir out, by the way.
But that, somehow she's got promoted. It's just
fail up, girl, fail up.
Yeah,
so at least
can't wait
some
for the
of
next
us
scandal.
have to.
Can't wait for the next one. But like, but she's doing that stuff too, right? Where it's like, okay, you're like, there is a kind of journalist that is getting really flattering with somebody to try to get information from them, and it's shady and shitty. But the idea that that is the number one story coming out of this, and I'm seeing like that's what conservatives want to focus on.
Of course,
please, it should be a bigger focus that Trump was able to be manipulated by that guy,
exactly.
Other than like his tactics of being kind of a shady character.
Okay, well, have you ever considered that maybe these weren't girls at all?
Oh my God, I saw this.
As for Epstein, I've said this before, but just as a reminder, I do know somebody very, very close to this case who is in a position to know virtually everything. Not everything.
Sorry, can we just? I'm sorry, this is not my show. To me, it's clearly Bongino, because she's been doing this like for months. I don't know if this to be true, but when she had God, I forgot who she had on. It might have been Shapiro, but she's been like saying, I have a source that says like he didn't kill himself. And she's saying it over and over again. It sounds like Bongino. And that would make sense because like they would have had ties from back in the day. But yeah, anyway, I just she
either, you know, when I read this, like listen to this, I am not, when I hear someone say, I know someone who's very close to the case.
Yeah.
My mind is like, you know, someone implicated in, you know, someone close to Epstein.
I mean, probably
like, right. Cause that, I don't think she thinks it's not reading the way she thinks it's reading.
No.
But now that you're saying that, I'm like, okay, you're right. And
that's my theory is that she heavily alluded to this kind of thing before. And it sounds like Bongino to me. And Bongino, it sounds like he was also seemingly leaking. He might have been leaking to the Times some of that stuff about Trump, like when he was being
found out he was in the files.
Yeah. So
yeah.
That's my theory.
Ooh.
Everything, but virtually everything. And this person has told me from the start, years and years ago, that Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like he liked 15-year-old girls.
Okay.
Oh, wait.
Wait. Hang on. Well, is 15 years old an adult? No. Well, what's the opposite of an adult? Senior.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong about the Bongino thing after she said that. So I'm taking that back slightly because that was a little contradictory. But holy moly! And she goes on for the rest of this video and like expands upon it.
Baby, what is it when you're not quite 18? But not into children. I think it's a child. I'm pretty sure it's a child. And I love someone who's really close, who is there. Like it's like, and they swear like, oh, they were walking.
Yeah.
They were walking. They knew how to walk. They had weaned fully.
Was there for a lot of this. But that he was
fell in love with Megyn Kelly as soon as they saw this clip.
Nambla's like, hell yeah.
She gets me. She gets me.
Milo Yiannopoulos is like, there is a difference. I always forget what the different files are, because I feel like when you know the difference between a pedophile and the other file, it makes you a pedophile. So like, it's like anyone who's clarifying what type of child attraction to what type of child makes you what, it's like, nope.
Yeah.
Yep. Nope. There's let's not parse it.
To the barely legal type. Like he liked 15-year-old girls.
Which is illegal.
And I realize this is disgusting. I'm definitely not trying to make an excuse for this. I'm just giving you facts.
Why are you bringing it up? Why would she bring it? Why does it matter then? Why would you bring it up if you weren't like reflexively making an excuse for it?
That he wasn't into like 8-year-olds, but he liked the very young teen types that could pass for even younger than they were, but would look legal too.
They could pass for 8, but they weren't 8. They look younger, but anyway, what is 8? Aaliyah once said while she was being, abused by R. Kelly, age ain't nothing but a number. And let's just go back to that.
A passerby. And that is what I believed, and that was what I reliably was told for many years. And it wasn't until we heard from Pam Bondi that they had tens of thousands of videos of alleged, forgive me, they used to call it kiddie porn. Now they call it child sexual abuse material on his.
It went woke. It went all woke. We can't say kiddie porn anymore. It's gotten
woke. We used
woke.
to call it this like cutesy fun name, and then they had to ruin it.
Computer. That for the first time I thought, oh no, he was an actual pedophile. I mean, only a pedophile gets off on young children abuse videos. What? She's never clarified it. I don't know whether it's true. I have to be honest. Oh no, he was an actual pedophile, like kiddie porn. Now they had tens of thousands of videos of alleged, I believed, and that was what I reliably was told for many years. And it wasn't until we heard from Pam Bondi that they had tens of thousands of videos of alleged, forgive me, they used to call it kiddie porn. Now they call it child sexual abuse material on his computer, that for the first time I thought, oh no, he was an actual pedophile. I mean,
so what she's saying is someone who she then says she doesn't trust, who's Pam Bondi. She didn't think it was real pedophilia because he was only into 15-year-olds. Then when he realized there was actually a bunch of child sexual abuse material on his computers with young kids, then she was like, oh, okay, maybe he's a pedophile. Like literally, like it only gets worse. There is no point she's trying to make. She's just digging the biggest fucking grave. And the woman next to her is like, why am I still here? Just, like it is so painful. What's the point?
I mean, do you want to keep going? Because I want to see that end.
You want to see how it wraps up?
Ends,
only a pedophile gets off on young children abuse videos. She's never clarified it. I don't know whether it's true. I have to be honest. I don't really trust Pam Bondi's word on the Epstein matters anymore. Yeah, so I don't know what's true.
It is never Trump's fault. These people are such cowards. They're always blaming everybody else except Trump. Trump is both all powerful and also completely weak somehow.
He could have never done well. I mean, I think obviously he went deep undercover as the leader of the Q movement to out Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, I think we will find, which actually would make sense if his FBI did something. You could easily argue as a Trump fan that he offed him. He offed him on purpose, not only to save his own ass, but who knows, but to rid the world of it because he's a pedophile fighting crime figure.
Right. That's a great point.
There's a lot of ways to spin it, and of course they are. But no, and of course we're going to get to a piece that I'm sure the right is focusing on far more than this, but not for the reasons we are. But let's see if there's anything
about him. But we have yet to see anybody come forward and say, I was I was under 10. I was under 14.
What?
When I first came within his purview. You can say that's a distinction without a difference.
No, it's not.
I think there is a difference. Yeah. There's a difference between a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old.
No!
It's just whatever.
Thank you. There's a difference between lusting after. At least they're not 5 is really where the GOP is at this point.
Does she just think that basically if you have your period that like it all bets are off?
This woman's a mom.
Well, that's the other thing is like so much of her career, and she's now had this resurgence a little bit. Like her show is pretty popular. Is I would say like she's trying to make up for in many ways being a victim of sexual assault and daring to call that out. Like
does she talk about that?
Yeah, I mean she left Fox News because of Roger Ailes and his sexual harassment. It was it was fictionalized in that movie Bombshell.
Dude, Megyn Kelly fucking hates women more than anyone I've ever her hatred of women is so deep.
Yeah. Well, that she is now working overtime here to appeal to like disgusting pedophile adjacent fans in her audience because she dared to object to the fact that she was being sexually harassed in her workplace. And, it's really pathetic to see women do this kind of thing to not just to other women, but in this instance here, she is justifying the abuse and rape of girls,
of 15-year-olds, of 14-year-olds.
And like, does she have any understanding of brain development? I mean, it's not just because it's wrong to abuse children because say they are not of the age where a girl is not of the age where she can have a child or something like that. It is disgusting to be attracted to them because their brains are not developed enough to fully understand or comprehend what you're doing to them. It is a power situation.
Of course it is. And it's also illegal. And also this is not like we'd be having, this is not like Jerry Seinfeld dated a 17-year-old. Obviously no excuses for this unmitigated psycho Zionist Jerry Seinfeld. But it's like, that's a conversation. Okay, let's have a broader, maybe a conversation. This is he's a ringleader. He and his sidekick are trafficking girls in horrible situations and abusing them,
targeting
pimping
schools?
them out to famous people and targeting school, and straight up what R. Kelly did as well, but like with a little more zhuzh, because they would send the 14-year-old and 15-year-old out to go find more of them.
It was a pyramid scheme, and they were also specific in terms of like her being, I would say, deliberately obtuse, because she's actually smart. About this.
So?
Megyn Kelly, I think she's smart. I just think she's a bad person.
Okay, but Santa Claus is white.
Yeah, fair enough.
But look, you can be, as long as when you're 15 years old getting trafficked by a disgusting man, you know that you still believe in Santa Claus, and he is white.
And she would probably know, if she decided to like not be running cover for pedophiles, and including, Donald Trump allegedly here, that part of why this is about power is because Epstein and Maxwell were targeting West Palm Beach, not Palm Beach. They were targeting, when they were in Florida, kids that were specifically on, like, in bad situations at home, were impoverished, needed the money. And that is what makes this predatory, not how developed they are. I mean, insanity.
Well, I feel like this dovetails. I mean, the party of pedophiles is the Republican Party, and it really dovetails with this story about Matt Gaetz and more information about the 17-year-old that he slept with. And I don't know if this is a different 17-year-old or if it's the same 17-year-old that he trafficked across state lines, but the point remains that he preyed on a homeless girl. A 17-year-old with a homeless parent wanted money for braces and ended up having sex for money with powerful men. She wants the public to have a full understanding of how she was victimized. And this is actually coming out because a journalist subpoenaed this information, or not subpoenaed.
FOIA requested?
They FOIA requested it. Yeah. And
this is the guy that Trump wanted to make attorney general, by the way. Until
he had to go.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, if he had just held on for a little bit, the Epstein stuff is, released. But again, this is the kind of local journalism that took Epstein down as well, is this shit about Matt Gaetz. She was 17 in high school and junior in Florida, working at McDonald's. She was living in and out of a homeless shelter, hoping to save up to buy braces and fix her teeth. She falsely advertised herself in 2017 as 18 years old on a website that matches men looking for companionship. I just can't get along with women my own age. They don't understand me.
I need an emotional support team.
I need a woman who's into K-pop demon hunters. And by woman, I mean 15-year-old. What followed to be a chain of events that would have dramatic impact on her life and upend the political career. So this is the same young girl. Joel Greenberg is serving 11 years in prison for, which was his homie. The bipartisan health ethics committee investigation later determined there was substantial evidence he had sex with a 17-year-old, and the report included testimony from the girl about how she was paid by Mr. Gaetz for sex. I guess the reason I bring this up is because there is something really important to note about who is trafficked. And as a party who claims to care about the rights of children, claims to care about pedophilia, claims to care about sex trafficking, is constantly, lying about the amount of undocumenteds that are traffickers, trafficking everybody. No.
Yeah.
It's powerful people. It's powerful men like this. And it benefits the world of sex trafficking to have people impoverished, to have people with no other means. And when you alleviate poverty, you alleviate child poverty, you will help prevent people from being trafficked like this, or signing up for some service where they are matched with sugar daddies and lie about their ages. Like this is like the very root that they'll never admit to and they'll never understand, but it just adds this like tinge of gross. Because I feel like maybe we were told that like, yeah, he just met a 17-year-old, or like she liked it, she wanted it. It's like, no, she fucking.
Right. Like there was a case of this like basketball player Giddy, who I think ended up sleeping with an underage girl when he was in his early 20s, and she had said she was 18. They met at a club.
Okay.
And he was, I think disciplined for that. I forget exactly how it turned out, but it was very plausible that he he didn't know what her true age was, right? Like this kind of situation. Okay, she advertises herself as 18. You've got to, you know what you're doing here. You're trying to get up to the line as close as possible, and it's quite likely that that line is, non-existent if that's the case. And the amount that they paid her in this article, don't they say it ended up being like $400? I mean, I forget exactly, so I don't want to necessarily say for sure. But you also see how across the border, trafficking is quite here it is, $400.
They did not have sex when Mr. Greenberg paid her $400. Around that time, Mr. Greenberg gave her ecstasy and told her to try it at home. God.
And then she was paid another $400.
Shortly thereafter, Mr. Greenberg contacted the girl again, and they ultimately met up in a hotel where they had sex. According to court documents, for that, she was paid another $400. In the months that followed, Mr. Greenberg, using his personal credit card and one of the local tax collecting offices he was in charge of, would have sex with her 7 more times for the money before she turned 18. Jesus Christ. Often those encounters, he would give her ecstasy. He would pay the girl and other women, additional money for taking the drug during sex. Mr. Greenberg asked the girl and others to attend a party in 2017 at the home of Chris Dorwith, a former Republican member of the Florida State House of Representatives, who at the time worked as a lobbyist for Ballard Partners.
Yeah.
Like, come
well,
on.
I mean, and this, like, one of the last ditch efforts Cuomo had to try to I guess attack Zoran.
You don't even know if they're 18 or not.
Yeah, close. But he was trying to say that, like, Zoran's idea to decriminalize sex work was like outrageous or something like that. These kind of like underground networks are exactly why trafficking exists.
Yes.
And including the putting folks like this in a cycle of incarceration and poverty and human trafficking, which is like, you can view this in the same way as when you have prohibition about alcohol or drugs, and it creates a sub-legal marketplace.
Yep.
And that is turns into criminal networks. The same thing happens with human trafficking. And so this is the kind of like action that, yes, we should crack down on the perpetrators of it, but the victims being stuck in this cycle puts them at an extra vulnerable position that obviously predators like Gaetz and Trump exploit. And
disproportionately Republicans. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Trust me, if it were disproportionately Democrats, I would be all over it. But the running list of fucking former RNC, former GOP, former, Congress people who would not be hired at a Chili's, like, who are pedophiles or who have who have been arrested on child pornography or, child sex abuse materials, like, it's a long list, and it's a list that absolutely is longer than the Democrats. But of course,
they're obsessed with it in the same way they're obsessed with gay people and trans people. It's because there's something about them living their life freely. I mean, this is a little different, but like, it's projection that they don't necessarily want to confront their own feelings about this kind of thing, and so they try to create systems of control.
Right. They like an underground market.
Yeah.
Because then, if you're like paying some sort of tax registered LLC,
yeah,
it's going to show up on some records.
Yeah.
And your wife's going to find out.
Yep.
Anyway,
exactly.
I wish Matt Gaetz well. He's a father now, so I'm sure that'll change.
To a daughter?
No,
it's still a rapist.
It's to a little rapist.
Oh.
Just kidding, male allies. You're good.
Yes.
Let's do one more story, unless I'm like, I do have to pee, but I can hold it.
All right. No problem. I mean, we're coming up. That's nice timing.
You know what?
What?
I just recorded a whole piece about the rights civil war over Israel.
Okay.
This is a very long topic.
Yes.
But I do feel like sometimes,
what's happening?
What I'm trying to say is that the like cabal talk is not really being beat by some of the rich and powerful, very Zionist figures that we have in our media, in our politics. Not really beating the cabal allegations. I want them to, but when you have Jeffrey Epstein now, again, pedophile, who has been, now we know, friends with Ehud Barak, and housed an Israeli spy who was an associate of Ehud Barak, worked as a top aide to Ehud Barak, housed an Israeli spy at his Manhattan apartment for weeks at a time, according to Dropsite News. We're finally now getting a little bit of the Epstein Mossad, I mean, not Mossad, but like Israeli
intelligence connections.
Yes.
I'm thrilled about this development because it's been in front of us the whole time. But keep going.
Well, what I'm saying is, it's like this is what the right will pick up on, right? This is where your Nick Fuentes are going to be like, you see, it's all the cabal and because there's actually links to Larry Ellison, billionaire from Oracle, who is now the owner of CBS and now the owner of TikTok or whatever, almost the owner of TikTok.
But they are cynical about using that in that way because it conceals what this is actually a cabal of. It's a cabal of elites that have deep connections to our military outposts in the Middle East and our colony that is like a surveillance state and there's a lot of
boy.
Why?
Keep going.
It cut out when I was about to say
it's not about Jews.
I'm not being anti-Semitic.
Boom.
But like it's about espionage. It's about espionage and high level militarism and intelligence.
Yes.
And how Israel plays like an outsized role in that in this country.
Remember, we know that like Epstein, like the one mention of like a beloved Noam Chomsky was because like Epstein was trying to negotiate some sort of meeting between like Chomsky and Barak, Ehud Barak, which, by the way, Ehud Barak also, it seems to be the leader of state that Virginia Giuffre mentions in her memoir, or alludes to in her memoir, that she was trafficked to.
Yeah, and that would make sense. Also, his tenure overlaps with Clinton's, if I'm not mistaken.
Everyone was there sucking Clinton's dick. Some of them willingly. This is from Dropsite, and there's a little bit I want to read, and then we can like play part of the Ellison stuff. Because what has been released along with Acosta's interview, this is Alex Acosta. In mid-October, the Oversight Committee released an interview with former U.S. prosecutor Acosta, who told the panel, contrary to widespread public reporting, he'd never told Steve Bannon that Epstein belonged to intelligence. He denied ever discussing Epstein with Bannon and claimed to have no knowledge as to whether he was or was not a member of the intelligence community. Yet, along with Acosta's interview, the House panel also released a cache of documents from the Epstein estate containing direct evidence of Epstein's links to Israeli intelligence. Epstein's personal calendars reveal that a senior Israeli intelligence officer with personal ties to CIA Director Leon Panetta lived at Epstein's Manhattan apartment for multiple stretches between 2013 and 2016. So well into the trafficking stuff, and well after he beat trafficking charges, thanks to Alex Acosta and Pam Bondi. When cross-referenced with email leaks from the inbox of the former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, a portrait emerges of Epstein at the nexus of high-ranking intelligence officials in both the U.S. and Israel. So he's like brokering deals between leaders of state. He's trying to obviously push a pro-Israel message inside of the United States.
Dropsite also reported, that he was the emails that were leaked showed that he was that Ehud Barak was reaching out to him as a back channel to negotiate with Vladimir Putin over Assad's rule during the Syrian civil war. And some of Barak's responses to him indicated that, saying like, don't go to, I forget exactly what he referred to it as, but it was like the colloquialism for Mossad. Don't go to them first or something. Like,
go to Epstein?
Or I would need to refresh my memory on that very front, but it was like alluding to essentially like, we're going to do this outside of the official channels just to show you how high up he might have been as a coordinator on that front.
It's also like, do you really need a high-level Epstein guy to like broker U.S.-Israel relations, they do it out in the open. Like,
right.
It's not like you're meeting much resistance from our political class. Like,
so Israel didn't like the fact that Assad was linked to Iran, and that would indicate that Putin and Epstein had a relationship, and then Barack could have been speaking to him through that medium as a way to not go through the official Israeli channels, to make it look like, maybe even to friends in the United States, we're talking to Russia right now on this front, right? So I mean, that's the theory.
Well, and then Trump came into power and it was like, why do we back channel with Russia? Right. I just talked to them because they're my friends, and thanks to Epstein, they introduced me to one another. And I did watch two prostitutes, sex workers, urinate on a bed where Barack and Michelle Obama slept, and I was jerking off in the corner. And yes, there's a P tape. Is there anything wrong with that? No. That is the P tape, by the way. It's not Trump peeing. He's just pleasuring himself in the corner. In this is according to me.
Thank you. I love this image.
Yeah. Well, here's a little bit more, because there is a Larry Ellison. There's a Larry Summers connection to Epstein, who was a former Obama aide.
Yeah, and also a former president of Harvard.
Yes. Ooh, fun. And so here is Murtaza Hussein on Democracy Now! There's a little bit of it. I don't know what point we're in at this point.
Disclosures many years ago that Barack and Cohen were being surveilled by the NSA.
Okay, Barack and Cohen. So Cohen is the name of the Israeli spy, the Israeli intelligence officer who was the aide to Barack. So they're being spied on by the NSA. Cool.
In New York around this time, or in the United States around this time. So whatever they were doing with Epstein, or in his house, in New York, amongst each other, with money, with sharing information or data or packages or something else, it was taking place in this period. And again, the interesting thing is that even if one were to not look at the emails and keep those separate, this information is in the House disclosures. In Jeffrey Epstein's calendars, it's mentioned the Cohen's coming and going from his home and the day of his departure, that he was staying, how long he was staying for. So this is stuff that the media could be covering, the broader media could be covering. It's just escaped attention for reasons which, one can speculate, or it's hard to say exactly.
The same way that Israeli pedophile escaped Las Vegas not so long ago, and a bunch of media attention, which is, anyway, speaking about the right, like Candace Owens is all over that story. I'm like, why are the worst people on these stories?
Well, because they're trying to say it's Jewish people, where the accurate depiction of this is like, you lived through the Iraq War. No, it's our corporate media obsequiousness to the military industrial complex, and that Israel is a essential part of.
Yes.
But we're going to continue drilling down this, not shying away from the political implications of his activities, Epstein's activities, and the ties he had with powerful figures like Barack and intelligence agents like Cohen.
The leaked emails showed that the former Prime Minister, Ehud Barak, bookmarked a private initiative with Oracle's Larry Ellison.
Here we go.
Can you talk about the significance of this initiative?
Like, that's so damning for this guy who's now the Baron of new media, or not new media, like taken over CBS, appointed Barry Weiss. Like, that he's again.
I mean, isn't he a part of the group buying TikTok?
Yes.
The only social media platform that was like neutral and allowed for criticism of Israel to kind of rise to the top organically.
I don't know where they are. They ping pong back and forth. They tried to clamp it down.
Now they're back.
It's unclear.
Yeah.
So what we saw from the email is effectively that around the time that Epstein and Barack were corresponding, that Cohen's activities in New York at Epstein's home were going on, Barack himself had gone on to have a separate meeting with Larry Ellison. Now, Larry Ellison is a very well-known pro-Israel donor. He's a billionaire and founder of Oracle. Currently, he's involved with his son buying up much of the American media. We've done other reporting on Ellison, drawn not from this database, but from a separate database of communications, which are also leaked and are posted on a website called the Distributed Denial of Secrets. And they show that Ellison had been very involved with the Israeli government and other facets, helping.
He's so normal looking; it's so hard to think he's evil.
System for Israel. He's helping.
Yeah, he does have that Sandusky ass face, dude. You see that?
Yeah. I mean, he's got they stepped on the back of his head and yanked for that facelift.
At the behest of Israeli officials for their favorability towards Israel to determine who we give money to. So we don't know from the correspondence with Barak what he was discussing with Ellison at that time or what the private initiative may have been. There's no further, not everything was discussed by email. A lot of things were discussed by phone, so not everything is documented in that manner. But we do know that Ellison was very closely involved in promoting the perceived interests of the Israel in the United States at that time. And Barak was doing the same thing. And interestingly, Epstein was doing the same thing. Epstein was helping Barak facilitate Israeli interests around the world, different countries, helping him refine his pitches, connecting with people to help pursue, the geopolitical interests of the Israeli government. And this is all coming as for one parcel of that. And so at Barak's meeting with Ellison, one can imagine it would have something to do with the ongoing efforts he'd be engaged in.
And
I just...
Yeah, I mean, so just to
worst people involved in propping up the worst state.
I cite this a lot, this book, but people should read The Palestine Laboratory by Anthony Lowenstein, and it'll explain, I think, a lot of things to people where we test surveillance and Israel is essential in prior to this genocide, even testing weapons and surveillance technology on the Palestinian people, particularly in Gaza, because as your audience, I'm sure, is aware, Gaza is an open air concentration camp and has been for quite a while. Its borders are controlled by land and sea by Israel. They decide what comes in and what comes out. And it's like a laboratory for them in that they can know exactly where everybody is. I mean, how they're able to use AI to bomb families in Gaza. They know exactly what they're doing. They pretend like they can't do anything to reduce civilian casualties, and they'll say that publicly. But we know that they can have a drone that goes in and just like assassinates a doctor in the exact window and know the exact pinpoint.
I watched the documentary, The Voice of Hind Rajab, which is
I haven't been able to bring myself to watch it.
It's very well done, but it's horrifying. But you're like, oh no, the IDF knew that there was an alive body in that car, because of heat mapping and like sensors and shit. It's like they
all
knew.
Of that dystopian like sci-fi surveillance 1984 shit. Like there is not a place on Earth that is more surveilled than the 141 square mile piece of land known as the Gaza Strip. And Oracle and Larry Ellison are a huge part of that. And so like that is where we need to be talking about it, not as like a cabal based on people's ethnicity and their religion. Jesus Christ. Maybe perhaps there are Jewish people who are involved in this because Israel is involved in this. And the Israeli government is really good at using anti-Semitism as a cover to engage in these like deeply dystopian practices.
And also very good at, let's be real, utilizing, rich American Jews to, perpetuate their project. And so of course Larry Ellison's going to be involved, and of course Larry Summers is going to be involved, and on and on and on. But you're like, the fact we need to be covering this. And I'm glad Dropsite is covering this because, again, you leave this massive open door where the right really does fester. And they have no qualms with what I called in my piece, like onboarding people from anti-Zionism to anti-Semitism. They will touch that third rail because that's the rail they live on. They want to be there.
Yeah, right.
It's not a third rail to them. It is like, and so the more you try to stamp it out, it's like, no, man, it's going to keep on coming up. And the liability is Israel. The connective tissue is Israel. Stop. Please stop.
And Israel and the way that they talk about Israel too is I've even had some disagreements with some people on the left on this. Like I really get annoyed at the foreign government framing, this foreign government that is infiltrating us. And I know that technically that's true, but it is not a good understanding of what is actually happening here with the United States playing such an outsized role in Israel's existence. And the fact that it functions as a colony and as a laboratory for, by the way, surveillance technologies that now we're seeing are being used on protesters here, being used by ICE. A lot of that was tested on the Palestinian people. And so to talk about them as a foreign government plays into, in my view, the infiltrator, anti-Semitism, anti-Jewish hatred thing where it's like, these people don't belong here. This is a country of Christians. That's what the underlying message is by Marjorie Taylor Greene
Yep.
and the fucking idiots that take her seriously on this and think that this is in any way productive for the liberation of people are giving into a really, really dangerous narrative. And you'll notice that the people that are engaging in that or taking her seriously, I mean, I saw she was on The View, like softening her image. I mean, it's ridiculous. With it, go on The View and watch that interview, and then see how they treated Zoran Mamdani in comparison.
Dude,
and then just like
real.
just sit with that for a second, like an actual anti-Semite versus Zoran, who believes in the liberation of all people, and you'll see how so much of this anti-Semitism discourse among like the media class is just the way like they can just hate on Muslim people and have the cover of like, we really care about Jewish people. So,
coming up in the Palestine, in the anti-war and pro-Palestine movements, I remember there were times when we would check ourselves if someone had done something or like said something in a framework. I remember, I think, I used to work on a magazine called Left Turn, and I think there was like a political cartoon that was like, Israel controlling the United States. And we would always stop and be like, let's remember actually, the United States is not an impotent force here. Candace Owens is like, oh, Trump is just, is super impotent. It's like, no. The United States is not being controlled. They're doing the controlling. This is beneficial for the U.S. security apparatus and militarism and weapons contractors. Don't ever for a second think we are being controlled by Netanyahu just because he does his, his dry cleaning here. But like, for real though, because that framing does play into this like anti-Semitic idea of like everyone's just being governed by these high level Jews, right. And it's like, no, they're not.
Well, even like the AIPAC being this like unregistered foreign lobbyist group, it's just like, okay, technically, but we are downplaying the idea. We are downplaying the nature of our relationship with Israel.
Yes,
and it is not a really anti-imperialist way to talk about it, because it's the United States that is the driver behind this. And I just,
and I think here's what I said about the Marjorie Greene, discourse. Unlike some of our former friends who like to platform her, or go on Tucker Carlson, I agree with you that I don't give her, any kind of like, I don't like it. It smells. I do think she's an anti-Semite. I will say, unlike others, she's in office. So if she can work on a bipartisan piece of legislation in the same ways that, Rand Paul and Bernie Sanders used to work together, on trying to like pull the US out of wars that, I mean, what was it? I think it was around sending more weapons to Saudi during their war on Yemen.
Was Yemen.
Yeah. And so it was like, if you can get something across the finish line, that's good to me.
Like, I agree. And that's why I disagree with AOC not signing on to that Iron Dome bill. I mean, because she doesn't like Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm sure for good reasons. I just thought that was like not productive. But, I mean, she's positioning herself for Senate. That's also why she took that vote on anti-Semitism too, which she almost like all but admitted to us when Sam asked her about it on our show. She didn't admit it, but it was just like super clear that she, it was a political triangulation, and we can disagree on that. But she was almost like smiling about it when Sam kind of got her there. But
was like, is this because you're seeking higher office? There was like
that was almost the thrust of his question, and she almost answered it honestly, which is my recollection of that conversation. It was probably from like a year ago. I'm getting a little bit of a feel. What were we saying? Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah, there is a difference in between platforming a politician and working with them in Congress.
Yeah, and there's a difference between Candace Owens and Marjorie Greene. Yep. It's like if Marjorie Greene can get some shit done, okay, great.
And the three federally elected representatives who take the highest percentage of money from small dollar donations, and also all three don't take any AIPAC money, you want to guess who they are? You could probably guess. I just mentioned two of them.
I don't have to pee so bad. There's pee
Marjorie
in my head. AOC.
Marjorie, they're pee in your boobs. Marjorie Taylor, that's disgusting. It's the reverse of pee stored in the balls, but
no, we definitely, women do keep pee in our boobs.
Yep. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Bernie AOC, right? And so she's not bought by AIPAC. I don't know, but there's one, like, working with her in Congress is one thing.
Yeah.
Platforming her as a media figure, as somebody who is anything but a Christian nationalist, is deeply, deeply problematic and also not the way that we should be approaching the issue of Palestinian liberation.
No, but I do think we should meet people, you know, halfway, and we should, you know, we should be coming together and fighting as populists from both sides.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, I will say we're not going to do TYT drama, but I will say, Emma, you know, I'm sitting here. It's November. It's almost about a year after Cenk came on my show, and we had a debate about his strategy making the rounds on right-wing media, going to TPUSA, talking to Charlie Kirk, and
I'll say, like, this like thing with you know, the fact that we've had disagreements. Like, I was asked about it on the podcast yesterday. It's making the rounds on Higher Learning. They asked me, and I was just shocked. Like, oh, people even know about this or care? But I mean, their crash out or whatever is I guess traveling more. The crash out heard
around the world.
Yeah.
Well, I like to separate, you know, when there's a lot of lumping when I talk to Cenk of like me and you and Sam. It's like I'm not getting paid by the Majority Report. Fully independent, guys. Patreon.com/Bitchuation room. If you like this and other content, support the show. Send in your super chats and love. But you know, it's been about a year, and I was like, look, man, you're playing footsie with people who want to mass deportations. They want to put people away for things like speaking out about Palestine. And a year later, he laughed at me. And it's like, he said I sounded crazy. Cenk, little bitch, if you're watching, I'm still waiting for an apology, man. It's okay. I thought you were such a big man. You can admit when you're wrong. You can give people credit when they're right. You don't have the ego. So when's the apology, my guy? This is what I'm saying. It's just like, you have so much grace for people on the right. And I said this to him privately. I said it to him openly. Where's the grace for the people on the left? And with that.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to me that you know, can't admit essentially that he was completely wrong about that, because you were completely right. But it's
just like this strategy. It's like, man, you don't invest in independent leftist media for years and years and years only to have centrist talking points come out of their mouths. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you know, like with him, it's just like, and with Anna, like, I want to find a new audience in the middle. Oh, yeah, you're on CNN. Good job. No one's watching except for people who are hate watching later.
Well, I mean, you find that new audience, that's fine, but let's just be honest about it. Like, I just don't necessarily understand why even care what we have to say if we're not a part of the same political movement going forward.
Or you have no interest in actually having those discussions, because I do think, and I've extended the invitation to Anna, we actually had something on the book, where we almost had something on the books.
Yeah.
And it didn't actually materialize, and now, you know, I've been cast out of the castle. But I know the invitation always stands.
Of course,
we can talk about everything.
I wish we could like basically have any conversation about this. I mean, because it would be entertaining, I'm sure.
Oh, so many clicks. Dog.
I like when this initially happened, of course, like I had some like sadness and hurt feelings about it, but that's long gone at this point. I've got like a lot of friends. I don't need more friends or to retain friends that don't share my values. I would prefer to, though, at the very least, have a productive debate, dialogue, so the members of the audience can figure out where everybody stands. But
there's also a lot of rewriting of history. I mean, look, I was at TYT for a lot, you know, not longer than you, but you know, more up to more recent times. And you know, the idea that it was the birthing person crash out that Anna had is such a lie. I think for me, I was more upset by the narratives around homelessness, policing, that they were completely missing the boat on, the lies that were told and spun, the narratives that were bought into that, you know, JD Vance and Trump trotted out there in the election cycle around Venezuelan gangs taking over apartment buildings. And now
did you see the reporting from ProPublica that showed that they were just like, they had found no evidence that Chicago, they said Tren de Aragua was in that Chicago complex where they zip tied those kids naked. ProPublica found that there was no evidence of that. It's the same story all over the country.
But they were in Aurora. So what about that?
It's the same.
What about that?
Slumlord landlords finding a way to offload their properties and kick people out and make more money. And you know, I'm not in the business of laundering that kind of propaganda.
You know, I mean, kudos to them for holding the line on Israel, although they platformed Ben Glebe for a fucking year, and that guy's a psycho. But like, you know, when, you know,
but does Cenk still say two-state solution?
I probably. I mean,
wasn't that his position? Because it's like it's actually like really. It's a very stupid and inaccurate viewpoint.
Well,
like,
they don't learn more than what they've already known, so I'm assuming that he still says that. There's just a finite amount of information with those guys.
Yeah,
it's like this. What I know is what I feel. Reading,
like I'm very passionate about Palestine and Gaza, but like, how about right to return? How about how the state is going to look like?
Or how about having a Palestinian voice on your show? And if you are watching, y'all, I would encourage you to have a Palestinian voice on your show. There's many Palestinians who would go on your show.
It sucks. They were, the thing is they did, they gave us many of people their starts, and it was encouraging, and a lot of us believed in the vision of like a left-wing independent media network. But I think it was just very bizarre to me to see this extreme defensiveness when there was just like good faith critique that was going on. And I, for the life of me, when this all started, could never have anticipated them being so sensitive about it. But I think it's like, I don't know. They must be struggling because they're doing ads for Medicare.
Oh, Medicare Advantage.
Yeah. So.
Look, I called Jenk a little bitch to my patrons, and I don't have a lot of them, and then good old Hank clipped it and got my ass fired. And that's fine. I understand you probably shouldn't call people a little bitch if you want to continue to work for them. That's all fine and good. But I was kind of playing with fire. I knew what was happening.
I respect it.
Shout out to Hank, who started the TYT union and then was summarily fired over doing that, and is still working on a documentary about all of it.
Not the only one, right?
Are there multiple documentaries about it?
No.
Oh, not the only one fired. Yes.
Retaliatory.
Shout
out to the person I know who I know who you are, and you know that I know who you are, and I always liked you.
I see you and I've liked you.
But I don't want to put you on blast. All right.
Emma Vigeland, any other stops before you get the hell out of this coast?
No, well, from podcast, no. I'm actually gonna actually have fun tonight.
Yay! I love that.
One of my oldest friends lives out here, so we're gonna go. I'm not gonna say what I'm gonna do, but we're gonna have a night out. It's gonna be really fun.
Say what you're gonna do. Have I had a
known her since we were 12?
Oh
yeah, I know, and she moved out here, and I never got to see her, so I'm really pumped about that.
I'm excited for your night out and off, and thank you all for watching. Again, become a patron, patreon.com/Bitchuation room. Support the show, send in your super chats, your love, tell us what you think, get some merch. What else? I don't know. I'll be back on Tuesday, and over the weekend patrons get new early access to this. Emma, I think it's like a half an hour video about the rights split over Israel. So
cool.
I had to watch way too much Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson. I watched like an hour and a half of their interview.
All right. Well, I know you already have to pee, so let's not trigger anything.
My tits are going to start leaking any minute. All right. Love y'all. Take care. Bye.
Bye.